Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ginger, the founder of Ginger the Voice. We are a communications company that seeks to give hope, courage, and enlightenment. We do this through various platforms such as speaking, singing, and hosting talk shows. And tonight we are talking about males being sexually abused. Men who have been sexually assaulted. You find that they are less likely to report on it, as they may have concerns about their masculinity and also their sexual orientation. Tonight we have a guest who's called Paulo Amaro. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. We've been rehearsing before we started tonight. He's here tonight, and we're so excited to have you, Paulo, because we know that you've got a very, very big story to tell us. And most men keep quiet about such things, and we are happy here at Ginger the Voice that you allowed us to interview you and to speak to you about this, because it happens. It happens almost on a daily basis, where you find that men are going to be raped and they don't talk about it because they fear that they will no longer be viewed as men. And I know that you've kept quiet about your secret for over 40 years, and you've been sexually assaulted for 7 years. Can you tell us more about this? What happened? Where were you? What would the perpetrator actually do to you? Just give us a bit of a background on the story.
Yeah, okay. So good evening to all. So it started when I was a young chap. My parents and his parents were best of friends. So my parents used to go visit his parents very often. I had to go along, but I was only 7 years old.
Yeah.
And the guy was in his 20s, early 20s. And the one day he just started telling me that he's going to be playing a game with me, and started touching me inappropriately. But me being young, not knowing what he was doing, I thought it was a game, and was excited that this is now a new game that's out there. And as time went by, so I was 7 years old about Ginger, and as time went by, it just got worse and
Paulo,
worse.
Paulo, before you continue, when you say he would touch you in appropriate places, can you give us an example of the appropriate places? Because we want viewers to know exactly what happened, because some of them have got children, so they need to hear the gist of the story.
So at the beginning, Ginger, what I can remember, I mean, it was a very long time ago.
Yeah.
It was like in the backside, this giving me a little slap on the backside, and and then he started giving me hugs, and then asking me to sit on his lap, and then taking from there, then taking his hand and put it on my private parts, and saying that this is now the game that we're going to be playing, where he can touch me wherever, and I'm not allowed to like comment or anything like that. I must just enjoy it, But I didn't know what was happening, Ginger. I mean, I was a little kid. I thought it was normal to play games like that. I suppose I didn't. 7 years old, you don't know anything. What in that time? Maybe nowadays is more awareness now.
When he would say to you, when he would take his hand and touch your private part, wouldn't you feel funny or weird about it?
I don't know, Ginger. You know what? In those days, Ginger, this is over 40 years ago. I mean, there wasn't so much awareness of things like that happening, and nothing on TVs and all that. So me as a child didn't know that something like that was inappropriate. I think a child nowadays, because of all the on YouTube and social media, what they see, what's on TV as often, I think if that happened to now, maybe the kid would pick it up more and understand that it's the wrong thing. 40 years ago, we already had TVs in South Africa yet, and so something like that was a different game for me. That's what I thought. It was a game that he was playing with me. That's what he told me.
And how often would you do this? Like every time he's at your house, or would it be once a week? He'd come over. How often did this happen to you?
No, we always. My parents always went to visit his parents, so we used to walk down. It was like a block away, so we used to walk always to his parents' house, and then it happened like at least once or twice a week. And it started when I was 7 years old, and it went until I was about 11 years old. And he threatened me, Ginger. So like I said, he would go like this to me, would put in his finger across his throat and say, like, if I ever talk about this game, That what you do to me, you would cut my throat.
Oh,
And so that put a lot of fear into me, and still not knowing that, okay, so this is a game where in one part it's okay for him to do that, but if I go talk about it, he's going to hurt me and, like kill me off more, So like it was very confusing for me, It was a
and
thing that
none of your parents saw this coming. None of your parents maybe saw how you
they
changed your behavior, or his parents, or just the friends around. No one noticed that there was something going on here and it was wrong.
used to take me outside of the house. So my parents were inside visiting, and I used to do it on the outside. And then we used to go for a walk. There used to be on that road stables where the horses were and all that, and we used to go into there. And it was far away from the house. So like, and then when they did ask, we were playing games, and I had to tell them, my parents that. That's what he told me to tell my family. So no one, I don't think anyone, and no, until today, I've never told my family. No one knows about it. It's a bit scary that nobody knows.
I want us to go back. What would you do in response to this behavior? If he would do things like this to you, as you say, he would point out and say to you, he would basically kill you if you talk about it. What would
Yeah.
your response be?
Well, I was scared because, like, being 7 years old, an adult doing that to you,
Yeah.
you got more power, and I'd be scared because he'd threaten me, like, talk wise, and tell me, if you go tell anybody, I'll hurt you, I'll kill you off, and then a little child hearing that, you obviously get scared about it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a big man threatening you, and you like only a little child, you look up into him and you think, I don't want him to do that to me. So I used to keep quiet. Although the beginning was just him touching me inappropriately, but then later on that got, like I told you earlier, it got a bit worse than that, where, yeah, he virtually raped me.
When you say he raped you, is it he would put his penis into your the
Yeah,
black hole that you used to poo?
he penetrated me, yes.
Okay. And it was painful, obviously, physically. It was
I-
obviously physically
it
painful.
was,
So
it
didn't
was
your
the
parents
first time that,
notice?
no, that didn't. It was the first time that I actually felt pain, and all the time when I started off. And I bled for about 2 or 3 days, but my parents never knew because I had to go hide my clothes away, my undies and things that I had on. He told me to go hide it and go burn it or whatever, but I hid it away from my parents. But I bled for about 3 days, and I wasn't allowed to tell my family. So that was the worst. When usually, when you're a child, you run to your mother and you're like, I'm in pain, I'm in pain. I couldn't tell her that because he had pre-warned me not to say anything. Yeah, so I
And did
bled.
this hurt you, your health? Didn't this hurt you health wise? Didn't you get to a point where maybe you can't even do number two now in the bathroom
I
because you're
couldn't for
missing
the
a
first,
very
yeah,
healthy way
you're right.
of having sexual intercourse?
For the first like week that I can remember, I mean, and I'm way older now, but what I can remember, I know that I bled for about 2 or 3 days, and then going to the loo, I was too scared to go to the loo because of the pain, and it was about a week that I struggled to like go to the loo and try not to do anything, and nothing to come out so that it wouldn't hurt me. But the worst was like not be able to tell my family or anyone. I couldn't talk about this to anyone. So I didn't know how to treat myself or what to do to make it feel better. I'm talking about physically, down there at my bottom. I didn't know how to get it right because I was too afraid to go to my family.
So
Because
you
he
did
told me,
not have any adult person that you trusted, not even a next door neighbor, maybe a
what I was.
teacher at school, a certain, someone who's older than you, a teenager who's older than you at school, or a friend, you know.
Yeah, what it was, Ginger. So his family was very well known in the Portuguese community. They were a very influential type of family that the whole Portuguese community here in Gauteng knew them. That they were very well known. And because of that, I thought, who's going to believe a little child who's going to talk about this and say, listen, that guy did this to me. Who's going to believe me? A younger 7-year-old boy talking about someone that and his family, they are very well known. They do a lot of community work. They do a whole lot for the Portuguese community. Now I'm going to have talked to someone, and I would have had then a Portuguese community looking down at me and say, "But you're a little child. You don't know what you're talking about." You know.
No one would believe your story.
Yeah. No one, not even my parents. I think if I did have the guts then to tell my parents, they would have told me, "You're talking nonsense. Like, why would he come do this to you? We know him, we know his mother and dad," and he probably would have answered like that to me. So that played on my mind for many years. Because it came to a stage when I was a teenager then that I thought maybe if I come out now and go tell people now, they would believe me. But this family was very, very. They did a lot of good in the Portuguese community. So no one would ever point the finger at them. And even if I was a teenager and like an adult nearly talking about this, no one would believe me still. So like I had to live with this all this time, and every time I went in after to his house, I ended up going to his wedding. He got married. And knowing that what he had done to me, I had to go face and be at his marriage. And
That's
yeah,
obviously years later.
yeah, it was about well, look, it finished at about the age of 11 that I can remember. And I was about 17, 18 when he got married. When
Did
he
he
got
ever
married to
apologize to you? Did he
Never.
ever sit you down to say he's sorry and own up to what he has done?
No, Ginger, he never did that. As an adult, he then moved from South Africa to Namibia with his wife. And then the rest of the family lived here. And when he did come on holidays, if I had to encounter with him just by walking past or being in the same facility or whatever, he would carry on doing that to me, reminding me what he had done, what he had told me not to talk. And as an adult, me being in my 20s or whatever, he still kept on doing that to me. So that was to take me back to that memory, and again I'd be in fear, of talking about it. No, it
We
was a
have
real.
here one of the viewers, just hold on, Mawanda Oscar Makalima saying that the more money you have, the more you get away with things. That's how it seems. So I guess that's
Yeah.
what was happening with you because they were more powerful and well known in your society. So he knew he was just using his power over you to do all these nasty things.
And he knew,
So
he knew that me being a kid, that I wouldn't, even if I had to go talk about it, he would just laugh it out, I suppose, and his family would just tell me to keep quiet and tell my parents for me to keep quiet. They had that much power in the community. So yeah, he got away with it, and he still got away with it, and I had to live with it for like over 40 years of not telling
and you were
anybody.
quiet all this time.
It was the hardest thing ever.
How
But as I
how did
grew
how did
older,
this whole experience, Polo, affect you sexually? Because I understand that you would probably have a girlfriend here and there. Did your relationships last after all of this nasty experience?
not at all, not at all.
Mm,
Um, you asked me the other day if this made me become gay. It's a good question. I
yeah.
wouldn't know if this made me turn to be gay. What I did do when I was like a young adult, like I did try and be with women, have a relationship with two different ladies, but it
Mm,
never worked out. I don't know. Yeah, my mind was just very confused. I lived 40 years of lying to people or
mm,
with this guilt in me,
mm,
not knowing who I am. And I think for me, I get upset because he destroyed. I could have been maybe someone different to what I am now. He
mm.
destroyed, I think, my life in a way, Ginger.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It was like I didn't know who I was, if I was that way, or. And it was like hard. And virtually when I did, after 40 something years, when I did come talk about it, it was like, that everything inside you that came out was like the hardest thing ever to do.
How did you come about talking about? Did you seek for help, or you were maybe in a situation where you were breaking down? Now you could see that if you don't talk about it, then your life would be going backwards instead of moving forward. What was happening to you at that time when you decided after so many years? Because obviously when you start speaking about something after so many years, there's still that fear that probably someone won't believe you because they're going to ask the question, why did you keep quiet for so long? Didn't
Yeah,
that
you're
come
so,
through your mind?
of course, you're so right what you're saying there, from completely right. That all went through my mind. And how I came out was that I met a lady at where I used to work, my colleague, and she does a lot of counseling for a lot of different ladies in different situations, of people being raped and all that. And the one day I went home and I thought, maybe I should, for the first time I'm encountering someone that is dealing with it at the moment out there, and maybe if I speak to her about it, and being a good person that she is, her name's Colleen, I sat down with her and I thought, like, let me give it a bit of like a go around the bush and see if she won't judge me, she won't point a finger at me, or she won't run me down and all that. And I started letting it out bit by bit. And I think, being a professional that she is, she picked it up that there was something wrong with me. And I wanted to tell her something quite hectic. And she closed the office door. And I think that day, Ginger, we spoke for about 4 to 5 hours with me breaking down, crying, and trying to, all those memories like coming back to me, which I had kept for 40 something years. It's like hard to let it out of the 40 something years. And Colleen just was so gentle about it and so professional about it. And yeah, and it actually felt good after that 4 to 5 hours talk. It felt very good to just know that, what, I finally have set myself free. I'd been, yeah, I can't even explain. Sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional, but yeah, it was
That's
hectic.
fine.
It was hectic.
Mawanda's asking, if the perpetrator is still alive, have you confronted him? Number one. Number two, have you forgiven him?
Okay, so question number one, yeah, he's still alive. When he was in his, I don't know, 20, whatever, he got married. I went to his wedding, like I said.
Yes.
From that very day, he moved over to Namibia with his wife. And I believe now he's got 2 children. He's got a boy and a girl there. What was the second question there that she asked?
The
The
second
second
question
question.
that's been asked by Mawande is, so if he's alive, have you confronted him, number one? And also, have you forgiven him?
Okay, confronted him. No, he has been around. He does come every now and then to South Africa to visit his family, or used to. And I didn't know how to go. You know what, Ginger, I would have loved to confront him, but I didn't want to. Like, it was too much. It was too hurtful. And like I said, every time I saw him, even as an adult, he was still going like that. So that brought back floods of
The
memories to
memories.
the fear of me being as a child, and now as an adult, he's still doing that to me. And the third one, have I forgiven him? I don't know. I've prayed to the Lord about it. I've spoken to pastors about that. Um, I don't know. Okay, how do you forgive someone that's ruined your life?
But I mean,
Um,
Paulo, it's gonna be a journey, you know. You don't need to rush yourself on this. Remember,
yeah,
you have been plundered, you have been victimized for a long time, because even the
yeah,
threats themselves, that's victimization on its own, because he's saying it is your fault in a way, you know. He's not taking ownership. So forgiveness is a process. It will take time. It will take time. So do not
yeah.
rush yourself. We also
I tell
have,
you
for
what
instance,
happened.
yes,
I,
yes.
I'll tell you what happened, Gina, just for your listeners to know about it as well. As I got older, so the thing happened between 7 and 11 years old. As I got older, I started feeling that it was my fault that this happened. I started getting that feeling. And that's
Mm,
when I started getting in depression, and started looking at myself and said, but it's probably I asked for it. You know what I mean? And like the whole thing changed with me being the one that maybe asked for it. And my mind was then, for a few years, said that he did it to me because I asked for it.
mm,
So I went through a lot of ups and downs in that, like
mm.
where sometimes I felt it was his fault, and other times it was my fault, and other times, I was going through that through my 20s and my 30s. So it's very hard for a child to go through it and then try and deal with it as an adult, because then you start looking back and you start thinking, maybe what I was doing is I made him get turned on or whatever. You start thinking
Mm.
little things
You
like that.
blame yourself.
It, you think as a child, did I do that? Didn't I do that? You start questioning or doubting yourself, and but you still I didn't confront. I don't know. I don't know if it's not easy to confront someone that has done very bad to you. Even as a man to man or whatever the case is, it's not easy. And to forgive him, Ginger, I don't know, like the people that I've spoken to, not even anyone that I've spoken to about this now lately. I'm talking about only now. I've been talking about it at schools and that. The kids don't that have happened to them. They can't forgive a person like that. I mean, the guy knows what he's doing. He's an adult. He knew what he was doing to you as a kid. So like, how can you forgive someone that knows he wasn't a drug addict, he wasn't an alcoholic, he wasn't anything of those. So he knew exactly what he was doing. So why do I want to forgive someone that knew what he was doing? Maybe if he was like a druggie or an alcoholic, I could have maybe forgiven him because with the alcohol, you don't know what you're doing, if you drink too much or whatever. But this guy wasn't. He wasn't drinking at all. He wasn't smoking anything. He wasn't taking any drugs or whatever. So it's hard for me to tell somebody, yeah, I've forgiven him. I can't do that. He hasn't done it to his children though. That's all I pray for, is that his own children, that he hasn't done to them. That's the only thing I can pray
We've
for.
got here Francisco Sobrera saying that, wow, after 40 years, okay, so what am I, okay, she's saying, wow, to live with this burden for 40 years, this is hectic. It totally is a hectic situation, Apollo. But what I also want to understand from you, now, obviously, you've spoken on 702, on Radio 702 about this, obviously, and now you're here on Yes.
Yeah.
And then you're now on Ginger the Voice, talking about it. Obviously, he probably knows that now you've come out into the open and you are speaking about this. Do you think that the perpetrator will react in a more positive way when he realizes now that you are out in the open talking about it? Or do you still feel that he might just victimize you and go on to say, keep quiet?
You know what I think now, Ginger, and that's very good what you're pointing out there. Now that I've spoken, I've come out with it. I'm stronger within myself. I think if I had to see him now, I only came out last year about this.
Yes. Yes.
I think if I had to see him now, I would approach him now. Now I would. But I think I'm a survivor. I've survived it, and I've now spoken about it, and I feel much stronger now to know that I don't want any other child to go through what I've gone through. And if I have to see him, I would go. I don't know what I'd do to him, but I'd go out, face him, and talk to him, But I've got the guts to do that now. But he's not here. He's in Namibia, as far as I know.
Yeah, but the world is very small, and the media platforms social media platforms have also made it even smaller. So people kind of know what people are getting up to, even though they're in different countries. We've got an anonymous. Yes.
Okay, go ahead. You got anonymous.
We've got an anonymous question here. The lady's asking, how did this experience shape your thinking and view of sex? Did you find yourself hating sex or loving it, or bordering being an addict to sex?
First of all, it confused me as a child to know if is sex supposed to be with a man or a woman. Because my parents, it was made in a woman, but now as a 7-year-old, I was doing it as a man. So it confused me even when I got into my teens, where I was like, okay, now I've been playing with a man for the last 5 years or whatever. It's just the way that the world is about, or is it supposed to be like my mom and my dad, which is a man and a woman, So it was a bit confusing, yeah. Even until matric, I was confused. I mean, I'll tell you what happened to me, Ginger. So when this all happened, nothing really in my mind, even when I was 13, 14, 15, did it affect me in a way where I just left it at the back of my mind, if you know what I'm trying to get it. I still remember that I was in my geography class in matric, when all of a sudden I was sitting there and the teacher was doing her lesson, and all of a sudden this thing just hit me, where when something just flashes your mind, and I realized something bad has happened to me when I was young. I think because of all the fear and all that, I had hidden it away so badly that I didn't want to think about it when I was out with people, in school or whatever. And the in matric is like that hit me, and I think from there, the sexual thing I got confused in because now I know what happened to me, and I can't say I enjoyed it, but it was a man. He made me feel okay until the day he hurt me. Okay, well, he raped me more than once, but the first day he hurt me, it confused me. Well, it's a very good question. Am I addicted to sex? No, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I don't know, but I'll never do to a child what he did to me. Um, and what happened at the beginning, I wanted to be straight, and that's the right thing to be now as a norm. But then I became gay. I'm a gay man now. It was because of that experience. Maybe Colleen asked me that as well, and I think I can say maybe, yeah, it made me become gay. If that didn't happen, would I have been gay? I can't answer that. I can't answer that.
So clearly, the fact that you had your first sexual encounter was with the man, it stayed on with you, and you probably later on developed feelings for men from that kind of situation. We've got here Nomonde Dabola. She's saying also it can help to read material on how to deal with these traumatic experiences, especially forgiveness. She's saying that I'd recommend a book by Joyce Meyer, and it says, do yourself a favor, forgive. She says, this will assist you to liberate yourself from these hurting feelings. So one of our viewers, who's Nomonde, is actually giving you advice to say that there's a book that she recommends that you can read by Joyce Meyer. I think you do know her. She's quite popular within the Christian fraternity.
I'm reading a book about it at the moment. It's called
So this one,
Battlefield of the Mind.
okay, this one that Nomonde wants you to read says, is titled "Do Yourself a Favor, Forgive." So maybe it can help you through your path and your journey of forgiving your perpetrator. We also have here Mawande once commending you. He's saying, "Great courage, man. I must commend you for that." So he's also a male, just by the way, and he's very happy that you spoke up, because you're now a voice for those who've gone through what you've gone through, but are not speaking about it, being afraid that there'll be less of a man. So you're here today to say that talking about it and speaking about it does not mean that you are less of a man. Now, it took you 40 years to speak up, Polo, and there are many boy children out there who are told that to be a man means that you must not express your hurt and not express what you have gone through. So what motivated you to speak up? What gave you the strength to say, you know what, this is it now? I will speak up about the hurt. I do not care who thinks what of me, but this is how I'm going to travel on this healing path.
Very good question. Very good point out there. I'll tell you what happened. From a few years ago, when I started hearing about all the men, what was happening to men in our country, in South Africa, being raped and being violated, I started thinking, what, that happened to me, and are these men coming out and letting people know that what has happened to them is not right? And then what I was finding out, and so the stats that I was going through, a lot of the men were scared to talk about, and what most of them were committing suicide and taking their lives because they were too scared. Like I told you earlier as well, that they, because of men don't cry. Men cannot be weak. You get taught by your family that the men are the men, and I know what it feels like to be a man and being violated and feeling that you're not worth it anymore, and because you're a man, who's going to believe you? Like when you asked me earlier on tonight, was there anyone that you can talk to, whatever? I was too scared when I was a bit of an adult to talk about it, but like I think like men don't talk about things like that. You hear about a happy woman, which is as bad or worse than what the man's going through, but women can talk about it because the community, the world has allowed the women to talk about things like that, but they've taught men to be the tough ones, to be rough, to be men don't cry, men don't do that, you know. So a lot of men, when I started a few years ago reading it up, I felt for those men, but I thought, you know, why can't I just talk about it? Look what I've done. You know, I've spoken about it, and maybe I've helped 2 or 3 people not commit suicide and not take their lives, and voice their what happened to them. You know, and you just need someone to have a bit of a courage to talk about it. Like me, you know what, Ginger, from when I came out with it, I feel so much better. I feel free. I'm a bit happier now. And I know that
Absolutely.
if I talk about this, I can help other people, and I want to help the boys, the teenagers that are going through this, and even the adult men, help them and know that, you know what, like you, Ginger, who's got a platform that you can talk about it. And, you know, there's so many people that are willing to listen to you and not point
Mm,
fingers, like you're not pointing fingers at me, you're not looking down at me, nor are your listeners and anything like that. And
yeah,
if that can happen with me, why could it happen with other people? And
yeah,
but what they do, they're too scared to talk about it, and they end up either committing suicide, you know, taking their lives or whatever they do, start becoming alcoholics, taking drugs, and that's the way they think it the way to cope, you know.
mm,
And they got like you, Colleen, people like from 702 that talk about these topics, but they know they can help your fellow man, you know. And men are
absolutely.
going through a lot, Ginger. The ladies don't know. You hear a lot about it in the with the ladies, and it's very. I feel very bad that it's happening to either male or female. But
Mm.
you know, uh, with men, it's not really out there. The media doesn't really im- make it such an important thing for a male to talk about it. You know. So now people like yourself that have got a platform to talk about is now something good for the men to know that it's okay. You know, it's okay.
To talk about it. It's okay to
Mm.
talk about this. We also have an anonymous viewer. She's saying that, how do you now feel about sexual relationships?
Well, I'm not. Uh,
So I guess
sure.
she's saying, how do you feel about having sex in a relationship?
You know what? It's, I don't know. That's a bit of a. I'm okay with it now. If that's what she's trying to get ask me. It's not that when I think once you've dealt with it, that lady who's asking the question. I think once you've dealt with it, when you do have sex, you don't go back to. It doesn't take you back to that point when I was 7 years old. If you know, I think is that you're trying to get that. You don't go
Yeah.
back to it. So like if you're having whoever you're having a sexual relationship with, it's not them. It's not that person. You know. So you don't look at
Okay.
it in that way. So it's not that man doing it to me. So I don't look at it that way. You know. And I look at the pen. People can be different, but it never went back to that where I'm having a sexual thing with this person and thinking, oh, this is what happened to me when I was 7 years old. No, it's now my choice who what I'm doing with that person in front of me. You know,
Okay.
so
Okay.
my mindset is a bit different.
Yeah.
It's a good
Yeah.
question
Talking
though.
about,
Hard to answer that
beg your
though.
pardon?
But it's a good question. It's hard to answer,
Yes,
but
absolutely. Absolutely.
hopefully
Absolutely.
I've given a bit of light about what I feel about it.
Okay. Talking
Mm.
about challenges in a relationship, I do know that not that the sexual abuse only happened to you, but even in your adult life, you experienced domestic violence where your
Yeah.
partner of 3 months was a narcissist. And he actually got to a point where he didn't just mentally abuse you, but also physically beating you to the point that you went to hospital. Can you tell us
Yeah.
about that? What would happen?
Um,
Would you provoke him maybe for him to beat you up?
no,
What would happen?
no. So what happened was that he uh, he was bipolar first of all, so he was taking medication for bipolar. I didn't know about that at the beginning, and I think him taking medication, Ginger. Like I said, 3 months is not a long time to know a person, but every night he was going before falling asleep. He was taking like something like 12 to 13 to 14 tablets in one go.
Mm,
So a bipolar person, I believe, and I read about it afterwards, can go from a mood swing of being calm to this. being from day to night, if you know what I'm trying to talk about. So they can be as
That's
calm as whatever, and then just become violent in within 2 seconds, So that's what happened with him. In the beginning, he was all lovey-dovey and everything was going well. And then a narcissist thing started coming in where he was like calling me stupid every time I spoke and telling me I'm always wrong, and virtually the one day he beat me up twice, but the first time wasn't that bad. Second time he beat me up like fun, and we were
So what
chatting
was
like
his reason for beating you up?
he was saying that I'm too needy.
Oh,
That's what he told me. You're too needy, and yeah, and I wasn't doing anything in the way that I provoked him, because I thought about it afterwards, like that I maybe provoked him to make him become violent, and I wasn't. And he just turned around and he told me that you too needy, and that's why he beat me up. And then also jealousy. Jealousy would play a big part on him. He used to go to my phone and delete any guy's numbers that he thought that shouldn't be there. And of Facebook and Instagram, and that he deleted all people that he thought that maybe would come in between me and him, even though he didn't know the people. And yeah, so the first time that he beat me up, we were at his house watching Netflix, and at his gate, all of a sudden, some dude was there with his car and flicking his lights to get attention, and then started
yeah.
throwing stuff through the window. And when they virtually went out and speak to the guy, he told me that he knew my partner and that they've had sexual intercourse at the gym and things like that. And he's now come for a bit of, bit of fun. So that first night, he turned the whole thing around and started blaming me for what had happened that night. Meanwhile, we were at his house, and this guy came there. So obviously, I questioned him, and he turned the whole thing around, telling me how stupid I am, and playing the whole narcissist thing against me. And then, yeah, so I went home. We didn't speak for about a week. And then, benefit of the doubt, he asked me for forgiveness, and like an idiot, like I said, okay, I forgive you. And then about 3 or 4 days later, him working by study, and I don't know what happened. We were speaking like normal, then he just lost it completely. And he came towards me, and he picked me up by my neck and put me against the wall, off my feet. And then threw me onto the floor and started kicking me, and I was all black and blue. I was like quite bad. For the police, I had to take photos of my body, and you see all the bruises and all that. And then I never seen him. And the only time I saw him was back when we were in court. I went to go lay a charge against him of the gender domestic violence. Then his dad
So
phoned me,
obviously,
Ginger.
sorry, Paulo, you went to the police. When you went to
Yeah.
report this to the police, did you find help, or were you ridiculed, or they didn't believe you that another gay person can hit another gay person, or another man can hit another man? How were you
No,
received
I
in
must
the
say,
police?
I went. Yeah, very good question. I went to Alberton Police Station. The chief commander there is a gentleman called Tabo. I don't know his surname. Tabo. I'm trying to think of his surname. But anyway, he approached me and he told me, "Do you know that this is very serious? What you're gonna lay a charge against? Because at the moment in South Africa, um, gender domestic violence is the same equal part as murder." In the
Yeah,
same line. So if
yes.
you
It's taken
ever
seriously.
hear our president talk, when he used to talk about COVID and all the different levels of going up and down, he always used to end the talk with about domestic violence. That even though we got COVID happening now, the president talking, and he said that even for the president to talk about it on TV, you know how dangerous
Serious
and
it is.
how serious it is. So
Yes.
he asked me 2 or 3 times, do you really want to? And I said, then when I showed him my body, I lifted my top up, and from down below my neck here down to the bottom, it was all black and blue. He told me, okay, now I believe you. Go, go, go. And then a few days later, the guy I was dating, he got arrested, and that's when his dad phoned me to drop the charges. And like an idiot, Ginger, I went there, but his dad was crying on the phone with me, and please, my son's in jail at the moment, and you know what happened in jail, and da 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 da. So off I went there, met his dad outside, and then we went to go speak to that Mr. Tabo, which is the chief commander of the station, and he told
Yeah.
me, Paul, you're not gonna, we can't do that.
Yeah.
That at the moment we can drop a charge if it's like a theft or something minor
Mm.
like that, but this is
Mm.
not minor. This is he could
Serious.
have killed you. He told me, do you know that he could have killed you? And I said,
Mm.
yeah, I do. So he asked me, so why do you want to drop the charges? And then I said, well, if he's dead. And he told me, you're not going to do that. No police station will allow anything like that to happen, to be charged. So off I went to court and I saw him there. And Ginger, even there, he was intimidating me there, the perpetrator. But I was stronger. It happened last year. I mean, this year. Well, last year to this year. And yeah, and I went to court, and yeah, it was the first time I ever went to police stations and courts and got involved with all that because of domestic violence. And it was hard as well. But I think luckily I had come sexual abuse thing of younger, so I was a bit more prepared with this, a bit
Okay.
stronger up here, you know,
Mentally,
mind-wise.
yes.
So the first week I had to deal with the physical part of it, where the pain was there, the bruises were there, my ribs weren't right, you know. Bully kicked me like all over the place. I don't know how many times they kicked me. And then the second week I had to deal with the mental abuse that he did to me. And during that second week, Ginger, I thought of suicide. I thought I'm worthless. Why is this happening to me again? When something happened to me when I was 7, now I'm in this age, and now it's happening to me again, you know, in a different kind of way. But this time I got beaten up, like as in getting kicked and hurt in that way, you know.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it was hard. But only now, lately, have I sort of let go of it. But with this, I spoke about it. Not like the other one where I kept quiet for 40 years. This I spoke to
Mm.
people about it that way.
Yeah.
I thought that the
Yeah.
only way I'm going to help myself is speaking to people. So the first person I spoke to, I found Colleen. You know,
Okay.
now I woke up at like midnight. You know, and I say, Colleen, you don't even know what happened to me. And instead of tell me, speak about it, go talk to people about it, you know. And you know
Absolutely.
that I've helped 1 or 2 people already about talking about this domestic violence, because there's been 1 or 2 men that had happened to them. They didn't know who to talk with, you know, and they
Mm.
heard about what had happened to me, and they phoned me. And I sort of, I'm not a professional, but I sort of, with the experience that I had, told them what I had done, and maybe that if they had go down that route, it can help them. So I've sort of
Mm.
been in contact with them and try and help them, you know.
Mm. Mawande here is saying talking about it helps guys, whether you are a man or a woman. He's commending you of the fact that you spoke out on both incidences where you were sexually abused and also where you experienced domestic violence. So we are also glad that there are men now who are starting to speak about it, because a problem shared is a problem halved. What can you
Yeah.
say as we wrap up, Polo, as we wrap up, what can you say to parents who are raising boy children? We do know that, okay, mostly it's females who report such incidences where they are abused sexually, you know. But what can you say to parents who are raising boy children? What can they do in order for them to assist them in raising their children so that they can speak up, so that they know if there's something wrong? We don't want a situation where, like you're saying to us, Paulo, that your parents could not even identify that there's something wrong with you,
Uh,
which is quite
um,
sad. You know, as a
that's
child who's
really
7 years old, as a
we
parent,
can,
you're supposed to be looking after your children. What can you say as advice to parents who are raising boy children about such
yeah.
incidents?
Okay, Ginger, very good. It's happening every day. Every day it's happening. And the
Mm,
parents can be the best parents in the world, but these adults are so good at what they do to children that they do it in a way that they do it under the parents' noses, and you don't even know it's happening to your child. Because these
mm,
adults are, you know, they're not little, they're professionals in their own, if you want to put it that way, they're professionals. They know what they're
yeah,
doing, and they do it in such a way that the parents don't even know. And most of the times, what I can tell parents is be careful of your family members and people that hang around with you as a family that have got older boys and things like that, because that's where it's happened. Most of the people
yeah,
that that I've spoken to at schools and that have told me it's people that they know, people that their parents know. What I can tell parents is be careful when to leave your child alone with another man and you're not around seeing what's happening. So if you find that an older man wants to play with your young child outside or whatever, think twice about that, because why would a much older person want to go play with a little 5-year-old or 7-year-old, you know? So little things like that where sometimes it's hard for parents, but it's a little like think about it twice before you say yes. Let him go play outside with the older man, you know, or older guy or whatever it is. But that's where it happens. And Ginger, you talk to the ladies that have been molested and all that. They know their perpetrator, or the family knows them. So it's people that know you so
It's
well
never
that
a
they know.
total stranger. It's always someone within the circle.
Yeah. And they know how your parents are, how you are. So they know how to take you away from your parents because they know you and they know your family. So they know this is the different that you do or what you don't do. So if I do it now, the parents won't notice or you won't take it badly, you know. So all I can tell parents is be careful who you trust. I'm not saying that everyone does it, no, but it's happening so often that, and you know, the worst thing is social media is very bad. It's good in a way to tell people like you doing now, but at the same time, men are seeing porn and everything, and kids are seeing porn on social media. That it makes them want to do their mind play tricks on them and go do things, nasty things out there, you know. So yeah, they must be careful, parents who they trust. That's all I can say. Is
Okay.
be careful with
Um,
that.
we have another viewer here, Ferdinand James Van Zyl. He's saying the best healing is to forgive. So people around here are encouraging you to continue in your path of forgiveness because that will help you and not the perpetrator. It will help you. As a closing statement for us tonight, Apollo, what do you have to say to victims of domestic violence, whether they're male or female? What advice can you give to them?
Well, look, first of all, Ginger, you got my number. If anyone wants to ever talk and listen to my story, and if my story can help one person out there, please give my number out to them. But my advice is that as soon as it happens, the quicker you talk about it, the mentally you're going to feel healthy and get in a quicker way. If you're going to keep it in and continue going back to that person, it's going to destroy you forever, forever,
Yeah.
and ever. And you know, there's good people like you, good people like you and Colleen, people like you that will listen to these people. Um, Turn around and maybe get hold of Ginger, you know what I mean, and tell them that you need to speak to someone that this has happened to me. You know, there's many people that are out there to help. You know, they've got the goodness like you have. You know, the good heart that want to help people out, and that's why you're having problems like this as well. But they must talk about it. You have to. There's no way I ever tell anyone to be as true what I was and keep it for 40 something years. It's the worst thing you can ever do. But mentally, your mental illness is the worst thing. Mental health is the worst thing you can have, because you don't talk about it and you run yourself down so badly that you know you think of suicide a lot of times. So I just believe talk about it. I know it's not as a man, it's not a manly thing to do it, but you know to do it. But you know what? No one's going to point a finger at you afterwards. After they hear your story and I know your pain and I know what you've gone through, they're not going to turn around and say like, "But you know, you're so weak. You're a man." They won't do that to you.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, Manpolo, for coming through tonight. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for opening up and leading the way for men to speak. If you're a man out there and you know of a man who has gone through this or is still going through it, be there for them. Let them know that talking about it is the right path or the right route that they can take. Do not keep silent. Do not support the perpetrator by keeping silent. Speak out like
That's the
women
word.
are speaking out against such injustices. Thank you so much, Paulo, and thank you so much to our viewers for tuning in tonight. May God bless you. See you next week at same time and same place. My name is Ginger, the founder of Ginger the Voice. We are a communications company that seeks to give hope, courage, and enlightenment. We do this through various platforms such as speaking, singing, and hosting talk shows such as this. Thank you so much for tuning in. Good night.